Well, hello, you gorgeous mother truckers, you, and welcome to another video. Right then, we've done, or I've done especially, quite a few videos on the discussion of conscription into the military because of some perceived threat or other. Well, they're at it again. And this one gets even better. So let's just have a look at the article, shall we? So Starmer prepares for attack by Russia. Officials asked to update 20-year-old contingency plans that will put UK on a war footing after Kremlin threats. Has anyone actually got any of these threats? And apparently, why would they come here? But if this is all ramping it up. So we have a picture of actual Russian soldiers actually looking hard, unlike ours, who have adverts telling us how wonderful it is that they can play football on cyber terrorism or stop in the middle of a patrol and pray to Allah. Any case, let's carry on. Britain is secretly preparing for a direct military attack by Russia amid fears that it's not ready for war. Right, the first thing is, before we go any further, why would Russia come and directly attack the United Kingdom? Do you know the logistical issues about getting a load of Russians over here, bypassing everybody else? Yeah. Officials have been asked to update 20-year-old contingency plans that would put the country on a war footing after threats of attack by the Kremlin. Even though the vast majority of young kids have no affinity to this country whatsoever and would probably fight on the Russian side. In any case, a classified dossier, which for some unknown reason could be spoken about in the Telegraph. See, all these things, you already, within the first paragraph, you're already going, propaganda psyop here. Absolute rubbish. Set out how the government would respond to a declaration of war, including bunkers to protect the cabinet and the royal family, public service broadcasts, and stockpiling resources. Utter rubbish. Utter rubbish. What flipping resources? We haven't got any more because Ed Miliband's getting rid of it all. Ministers fear that Britain would not only be outgunned by Russia and its allies on the battlefield. Yes, that's because we've given most of it away. We were unprepared and poorly defended at home. Again, because we've given most of our stuff away and not replaced it. And we've turned the army into such a woke thing that no one wants to be in it anymore. And we don't have any soldiers. And we can't employ any soldiers, as I said, most of the young kids nowadays have no affinity to this country at all. And why would they defend it? Plus, those who have some sort of affinity have been put through the education system and told that we're all evil and we deserve to die. So, yeah. Kremlin officials have repeatedly threatened the UK with a direct attack over its support with the Ukraine, which may soon include British troops on the ground. And that will spark it off, but, let's just keep pushing the let's go to war narrative because why not? Experts have warned that the country is vulnerable to an assault on its critical national infrastructure, so gas terminals, which we don't need anymore, undersea cables, nuclear power plants, transport hubs. Don't need to do anything with the transport hubs. They're screwed enough as it is. They don't work properly now. So I don't think if you did do that, I don't think many people would actually notice the difference because most of them are on strike most of the time, so no one would notice. Telegraph understands the update to the classified Homeland Defence Plan, which we are allowed to print in a newspaper, because of course this isn't just bullshittery and propaganda, will set out a strategy for days immediately after a strike on the UK mainland by a hostile foreign state. It will include scenarios in which Britain is hit by conventional missiles, which would be great, nuclear warheads, or cyber operations, which were a limited threat. Last significant update to the plan was made in 2005. The plan, by the Cabinet Office's Resilience Directorate, will direct the Prime Minister and Cabinet on how to run a wartime government. They can't run one now. A wartime one, they'd be pointless. Oh, God. And when they should seek shelter in Downing Street bunker or outside London. But don't come to Birmingham. We're more likely to finish you off before the Russians. Just saying. War strategy for the rail and road network, which barely works now. Any case, before we go to war, courts, why would you want one? Postal system and phone lines are expected to be examined. They all wouldn't work. And who's going to be posting a fucking letter in the middle of a war? It's unlikely that the document will be released for the public for decades, if at all. But we'll talk about it in this national newspaper, and I'll do a YouTube video on it. Yeah, the cabinet has already modelled a scenario in which a hostile state launched missiles and cyber attacks on national infrastructure at the same time. A risk assessment published in January found that a successful attack was likely to result in civilian fatalities. Really? Who'd have thought, eh? As well as members of the emergency services, cause serious economic damage and disrupt essential services, which wouldn't work. The defence officials have called for Britain to develop its own form of Israel's Iron Dome, which is mainly supplied with American missiles, which we're not very friendly with the Americans at the moment, to protect it from missile attacks. And this is true. Britain's actual air defence system for the UK is practically non-existent. And anything that we do get, we have a tendency to give away to the Ukraine. Last month, a senior RAF official revealed that for the first night of the Ukraine conflict had played out in the UK, Russian missiles would have broken through British defences. We haven't got any, and destroyed infrastructure targets. We have a few jets, and they won't be able to intercept anything else, and we've got nothing else. Just think about it. When was the last time you saw an air defence battery anywhere? We haven't got them. We've sent most of it away, or just not bothered because we think we're safe. Russia, China and Iran have claimed to develop hypersonic missiles that could travel up to 10 times the speed of sound and evade defences more easily than the conventional ballistic missiles. This is true, and we have no defence against them either. I mean, we've got no defence against anything, really, because we just don't. Most of it would have to be man-portable stuff. I mean, when it comes to the armed forces, I don't think people really genuinely understand how bad it really is. British officials are especially concerned about gas terminals and the country's 5 active nuclear power stations, which could release radioactive material across the county and cause significant, prolonged, long-term security, health, environmental and economic impacts if it struck, according to White assessment. It's okay, though. We have all these wind turbines and solar panels that Ed Miliband's insisting we get built. We'll be fine, even though most of us will be dead. The government has also modelled the likelihood of the effects of a nuclear missile attack in the UK. It's okay. Where I live in Birmingham, we're doomed any case, but it doesn't matter. But official conclusions of that review remain classified. Yeah, because they won't admit the fact that everybody already knows that we're finished. It'll be over, so you don't need to. New contingency plan will, for the first time, address cyber warfare, which spy chiefs has now said one of the most dangerous threats the UK faces. I would still reckon that an atomic bomb, pretty much. I mean, you might be able to shut down the electric system and that by a cyber attack, but we'd still all be alive. State-sponsored hackers will have the power to shut down traffic networks, which, as I said, don't work barely enough as it is, but who cares? Cause power cuts and temporarily close down government departments, which no one would notice difference, to be fair. Ken McCallum, the director of MI5, said in October that the number of state threats investigated by the agency increased by 48% in a year, and Russia had increased its cyber attacks because of the war in Ukraine. You wonder why. You went getting involved in something that's got fuck all to do with us, but there it is. Russia's sabre rattling against the UK has continued despite Donald Trump's plan for peace deal in Ukraine. Yeah, last month, ministers officially designated Russia as a national security threat for the first time ever. Wow. The plan is modelled on the War Book, a secret Cold War dossier of instructions on how governments should respond to a nuclear attack. Well, it has since been published in the National Archives, so it's another secret book then anymore. The War Book includes evacuation plans for the Prime Minister, key members of the Cabinet, who will be moved to a bunker in the Cotswolds if London was bombed. Queen Elizabeth II would have escaped to safety on the royal yacht that we don't have anymore. I mean, it's like they say all the... Well, in any case, let's carry on. This is madness. Under the same plan, Britain will be divided into 12 zones, each governed by cabinet ministers, senior military officials, chief constables, judges with special powers. In some scenarios, food and building materials will be stockpiled and rationed. Fuck them, ain't we? Let's be honest. The BBC will be instructed to play public service announcements on how to shelter from missiles. Don't bother. And the country's most important artworks will be moved from London to Scotland for safety, because they won't bomb Scotland. The plan comes as ministers prepare to release Labour's Strategic Defence Review, which will examine the state of the armed forces. We don't have any, and I'm sure you'll make cuts. Ministry of Defence has also reviewed that will include options to reinforce homeland security, which we can't do because you could just float over here on a dinghy, get put up in a hotel, spread around the country, so you've got battalions of these men all over the place. Which may include developing stronger defences against missiles. We don't have any. We'll also look at the readiness of the armed forces for war after decades of declining troop numbers. The declining troop numbers, you've made it as woke as shit, no one wants to be in there, and you've been telling everybody that this country is evil and it deserves everything it gets. You just, reaping the whirlwind of the soja seed. Sir Keir said the UK will spend 2.5% of its GDP on defence from 2027. So we're in such a rush, we're not actually going to do it for another 2 years. Because, not going to happen now. I'm sure Russia will wait till 2027. But ministers and service chiefs have not yet agreed how the money should be spent, because it'll be wasted, probably on DEI hires. The government spokesman said the UK has robust plans in place for potential emergencies that have been developed and tested over many years, and none of them will work because they just won't. They'll only look after themselves, and you or I have dead meat. But it just shows you, here we go again. This is yet again another huge propaganda. Get ready for war, get ready for war, get ready for war. That's what they want. Because the only way economies ever survive the bag problem is get a war to kick off. But unfortunately, this one will be the last one we ever want. Any case, 2 videos coming up at the end of this one. One will be the last one I uploaded. The other one will be the one that the gods of YouTube, with their mighty, actually just for you, chosen one. You can like, you can share. If you agree with what I'm saying and like what I do, you can hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you a penny. Ding the bell to get notifications. And YouTube will let you keep that for a bit and then randomly turn it off. There are ways to support the channel in the links down below. That I'm done. So until the next one.
Maybe it's an arrow at the bottom.